Class 11. Today I am going to teach you chapter 4, distribution of oceans and continents, from the book Fundamentals of Physical Geography. In the previous chapter you have studied the interior of the earth. You are already familiar with the world map. You know that continents cover 29% of the surface of the earth and the remainder is under oceanic waters. The position of the continents and the ocean bodies as we see them in the map have not been the same in the past. If this is so, the question arises, what were their positions in the past, why and how do they change their positions? You will find the answers to some of these and related questions in this chapter. Observe the shape of the coastline of the Atlantic Ocean. You will be surprised by the consistency of the coastlines on either side of the ocean. Many scientists thought of this similarity and considered the possibility of the two Americas, Europe and Africa to be once joined together. Abraham Ortelius, a Dutch mapmaker, who first proposed such a possibility as early as 1596. Then Alfred Wegener, a German meteorologist, who put forth a comprehensive argument in the form of the continental drift theory. According to Wegener, all the continents form a single continental mass and a mega ocean surrounded the same. The supercontinent was named Pangaea and mega ocean was called Panthalassa. He argued that around 200 million years ago the supercontinent Pangaea began to split. Pangaea first broke into two large continental masses as Laurasia and Gondwana land, forming the northern and the southern components respectively. Subsequently, Laurasia and Gondwana land continued to break into various smaller continents that exist today. A variety of evidence was offered in support of the continental drift. Some of these are: number 1, the matching of continents jigsaw feet. I hope you know what is jigsaw feet puzzle. The shorelines of Africa and South America facing each other have a remarkable and unmistakable match. Then second evidence, rocks of same age across the oceans. Radiometric dating methods developed in the recent period have facilitated correlating the rock formation from different continents across the vast ocean. The belt of ancient rock of 2000 million years from Brazil coast matches with those from Western Africa. Then the third evidence is stillite. It is the sedimentary rock formed out of deposits of glaciers. Mostly you will find them in the colder region. So the Gondwana land, which is the southern part of Pangaea, which broke into 6 land masses, which are India, Africa, Falkland Island, Madagascar, Antarctica and Australia. Base of all these land masses stillite have been found, which prove that all these 6 land masses have similar history. Then another evidence, which is placer deposits. The occurrence of rich placer deposits of gold in the Ghana coast and the absolute absence of source rock in the region is an amazing fact. The gold bearing veins are in Brazil and it is obvious that the gold deposits of the Ghana are derived from the Brazil plateau when the two continents lay side by side. And the last evidence, fifth evidence, is the distribution of fossils. When identical species of plants and animals are found in different land masses, that provide a strong evidence that everything once upon a time was a single large land mass. Lemur is one such species that is very famous in Madagascar. Now fossils of this species was also found in India, though it is said that lemur originated in Africa. Linking these three land masses, you can easily see there is a correlation. I mean Africa, Madagascar and our India. So these were all the evidence that speaks in favor of continental drift theory suggested by Alfred Wegener. So far we have studied about what is the continental drift theory and what are the evidence in support of the continental drift theory. Now we are going to read forces behind continental drift theory. Wegener suggested that there were two reasons behind it. Number one, pole filling force, and second one, tidal force. The polar filling force relates to the rotation of the earth. Due to rotation, continents move from polar region to equator. And the second force that was suggested by the Wegener was the tidal force. It is due to the attraction of the moon and the sun that develop tides in oceanic water. So Wegener believed that it is due to these two forces that work for millions of years to breaking of continents. Now there is a twist in this theory. Most of scholars considered these forces to be totally inadequate, meaning they did not find enough strength in these two reasons that was suggested by Wegener, which ultimately led to the rejection of his theory. After the rejection of Wegener's continental drift theory, there was some more research and studies done, which is known as post drift studies. Students, post drift studies not included in your syllabus. So just for your knowledge, after rejection of the Wegener's continental drift theory, scientists research on convectional current theory, mapping of the ocean floor configuration, and give us lots of information like ocean floor is not just a vast plain, but it is full of relief due to volcanic activity and plate movement. These some reasons are responsible for continental drifting. So our next topic is distribution of earthquakes and volcanoes. You can see the big black dots represents hotspot, which basically means that here the magma comes out of the mantle. That is why they are referred to as hotspots. Many such hotspots located in the ocean floor, and there are few on continental mass as well. Now the next you see the tiny black dots. These are places we will find a volcano. Many of them located on the continental mass and few on ocean floor. Then we have these tiny grey dots forming a long line sort of a thing. These are regions of shallow earthquake and they are found on ocean bed. They are also known as mid oceanic ridges. At last we have the grey shaded regions. They are deep earthquake zone. These are deeper ones and very active earthquake zone, and these are the entire distribution of earthquake and volcanoes we saw with the help of a figure. Next topic, which is the plate tectonics. In the year 1967, Mackenzie, Parker and Morgan independently collected the available ideas and come out with another concept termed plate tectonics. A tectonic plate is a massive irregularly shaped slab of a solid rock generally composed of both continental and oceanic lithosphere. Plates move horizontally over the asthenosphere. The lithosphere includes the crust and the top mantle with its thickness range varying between 5 and 100 km in oceanic parts and about 200 km in the continental areas. A plate may be referred to as the continental plate or oceanic plate depending on which of the two occupy a larger portion of the plate. The theory of plate tectonics proposes that the Earth's lithosphere is divided into 7 major plates and some minor plates. 7 major plates are, you can see in the diagram, number 1 Antarctic plate, then second one North American plate, third one South American plate, fourth one Pacific plate, fifth one India, Australia, New Zealand plate, sixth one African plate, and seventh one is Eurasian plate. Eurasian plate is the largest continental plate and the Pacific plate is the largest oceanic plate. And some important minor plates are like Cocos plate, Nazca plate, Arabian plate, Philippine plate, Caroline plate, Fuji plate. Now, types of plate boundaries. There are 3 types of plate boundaries. Number 1 is divergent plate boundaries. The plates pull away from each other. The sides where the plates move away from each other are called spreading sides. Best known example of divergent boundary is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Now, convergent boundaries. One plate sink under another, that is called a convergent boundary. The location where sinking of a plate occurs is called a subduction zone. There are 3 ways in which convergence can be occur. These are between an oceanic and continental plate, between 2 oceanic plate, or between 2 continental plate. And the last boundary is the transform boundary. The crust is neither produced or nor destroyed in this transform boundary. The plates slides horizontally past each other. Okay. Now, the last topic of this chapter, which is the movement of the Indian plate. The Indian plate includes Peninsular India and the Australian continental portion. The subduction zone along the Himalayas forms the northern plate boundary in the form of continental convergence. Clear? India was a large island situated off the Australian coast in a vast ocean. The Tethys Sea separated it from the Asian continent till about 225 million years ago. India is supposed to have started her northward journey about 200 million years ago at the time when Pangaea broke. India collided with Asia about 40 to 50 million years ago, causing rapid uplift of the Himalayas. The positions of India since about 71 million years till the present are shown in the figure. It also shows the position of the Indian subcontinent and the Eurasian plate. About 140 million years before the present, the subcontinent was located as south as 50 degree south latitude. The 2 major plates were separated by the Tethys Sea and the Tibetan block was closer to the Asiatic landmass. During the movement of the Indian plate towards the Eurasian plate, a major event that occurred was the outpouring of lava and formation of the Deccan Traps. This started somewhere around 60 million years ago and continued for long period of time. Note that the subcontinent was still close to the equator, from 40 million years ago, and thereafter the event of formation of the Himalayas took place. Scientists believe that the process is still continuing and the height of the Himalayas is rising even to this date. So students, so that's it for this chapter. Next day I will provide you some question and answer regarding this chapter. Thank you.